Joining us in the studio now is Kevin Poulter, an employment lawyer over at Bertram Turner Bell and also a social media commentator. Kevin, thanks for coming back and seeing us again. What is this really all about? What is Apple worried about?
Apple's worried about a few things. First of all, the cost of potentially implementing this whole new regime around, it's all about sort of security, of course it is. It's also about deciphering messages, but it's also worried about the trust element that it has with its customers. Apple's spoken out many times now about the right to privacy, the right for its customers to be able to speak to one another without Apple spying on them. And what the government's now saying is, well, actually, we might ask you from time to time to spy on your customers. And Apple says, no, we don't want to do that. We've built this trust, and that's what our brand's based on. But furthermore, we already have protections in place, and we don't want to have to go any further.
Interesting you mentioned that Apple parroting the trust that it says it has with its customers, but you also mentioned the likely cost for Apple and other tech companies of actually dealing with these laws. Play a cynic's card for a moment, and do you think is that the real motivation here?
In part, without a doubt, and that's why the likes of Microsoft and Yahoo and Google are all getting involved in this and are paying some attention. There is some overlying issues, of course, the human rights issues. Again, we've talked about the privacy issues before, but that is of concern. But cost-wise, yes, Apple at the moment it encrypts its data on both ends, both when it's being sent and when it's received. That's the way its technology works. What it will be asked to do is to say, well, we want to be able to decipher this, to be able to hack into it, really, when we ask you to. Not only that, you're not allowed to tell your customers when you're doing it, the fact that you're doing it, and it's just saying, well, it just doesn't sit with our values, and of course, it's a whole different way of working.
So what does this really mean ultimately for consumers and users of social media sites? I mean, if they don't like it, should they just not use these sites?
Wouldn't that be great? The reality is that there's everything's going to be covered. If you are communicating in any way or facilitating that communication, you are likely to be covered by this act, which is what's different to what's gone before. So the internet service providers, the various other communications agencies, of course Google, are being asked to comply with these same laws. It means that we're either going back to the old way of doing it, which is on the telephones, and we all know how susceptible that is to hacking, or we have to think of a new way. Maybe it's back to the old pen and paper.
Okay, Kevin Poulter, thank you very much for coming in to talk to us.